A serial killer confessed to every murder, every victim, every name, every detail. So why does it still feel like he didn't deserve any of this? Pinyu discovered that her visions were connected to the serial killer Li Jen-yao. Years ago, he stabbed Ouyang Ti in front of a crowd, and he spent 7 years paying for it. When he finally got out of prison, the murders began. One by one, people started dying. And when it was over, he confessed to everything. He told them everything. Everything except one thing. The reason. And that's exactly what we're about to find out. Now, he works nights as a street sweeper. And during the day, he cleans crime scenes for a man named Big K, scrubbing blood from floors, disposing of evidence, learning exactly what it takes to make a death disappear without a trace. You remember Big K? The debt collector who used to show up at Jen-yao's door when he was in high school and take everything he had earned. Now he employs him, and Jen-yao lets him. Because Big K has access to the kind of work that teaches you things no school ever could. When Jen-yao gets out of prison, he goes looking for Xiao Teng. He returns to the rooftop where they once promised to meet, but she's not there. Everyone says Xiao Teng killed herself, but Jen-yao has never found proof, and until he does, he refuses to believe it, so he keeps searching. Then one night, their worlds collide. He sees her, across the street, a woman walking with a cane, the same build, the same silhouette. Even the light catches a tattoo on her arm. For a moment, his heart stops. Then it starts racing. He runs toward her, calling her name. But when he finally reaches her, it's not her. The face is different. The body is different. This woman is blind, walking carefully with a cane. Jen-yao knows immediately that this is not Xiao Teng, but something about the way she moves stops him cold. The quickness in her step, the way she tilts her head when she listens, and then he sees it. On her wrist, the same finger, the exact same design, a small butterfly tattoo. Her name is Tianqing. She's a radio DJ, and she moves through the world carefully with her cane, as if the ground beneath her might shift at any moment. Jen-yao is taken aback, but he doesn't push it. She tells him about her radio show, and from that day on, he starts listening to her program every single day. Then one evening, while she's on air, she mentions something that makes him go completely still. Her vision began failing during the summer of her junior year in high school. The same year, the same window of time when Xiao Teng's world collapsed and she disappeared. Coincidence after coincidence begins stacking on top of the last. And slowly, Jen-yao starts watching Tianqing from a distance. One night, she's about to walk straight into something. Before he can stop himself, he steps forward to warn her. She freezes the moment she hears his voice. Then she says something strange. The first time they spoke, his voice felt familiar, like someone she had known for a very long time. She can't explain why, and honestly, Jen-yao can't explain why he feels so drawn to her either. Eventually, they go out for dinner together. She orders chicken leg rice, and that stops him for a moment. Because years ago, Xiao Teng once pulled that exact meal from her mother's lunchbox and shared it with him on a rooftop. A lifetime ago. Before they part ways, he gives her his number. One day she's texting him when her housekeeper hears the phone read the name out loud. Li Jen-yao. The housekeeper freezes immediately. Soon Jen-yao and Tianqing begin spending more time together, but something about being near him unsettles her in ways she cannot explain. She wakes from dreams she cannot quite remember. Just fragments. A school corridor. Rain. One afternoon, she suddenly stops in the middle of the street. Stunned. Unable to explain why her feet refuse to move. That exact spot is where Xiao Teng used to practice dancing. She doesn't know that, but her body does. One night in the rain, she reaches up and gently wipes the water from his face, a gesture so familiar, it almost breaks him. For a moment, he forgets everything. He leans in, but she pulls back, and the moment is gone. After that, they start getting closer. They call each other. They text. Little by little, Tianqing grows used to talking to him, to hearing his voice. But Jen-yao cannot shake the feeling that something is wrong. So he asks Big K to investigate her. The file comes back clean. According to every official record, Tianqing and Xiao Teng are two completely different people. Different identities, different histories. No connection anywhere on paper. Still, he isn't satisfied. So he checks her medical records. The blindness is listed as hereditary. That should be enough to convince him. And for a moment, it is. He tells himself he was wrong, that he imagined the whole thing, that this woman cannot possibly be Xiao Teng. So he does the only thing he thinks he can do. He cuts contact, completely. He stops answering her texts. He ignores her calls. He tells himself to walk away, to get out of this delusion before it goes any further. But for Tianqing, the silence makes no sense. The one man she felt strangely drawn to suddenly disappears. No explanation. No goodbye. Nothing. And a painful thought begins creeping into her mind. Is it because she's blind? But Jen-yao cannot stop thinking about her. One day he finds himself standing across the street from her workplace, watching, just watching. She steps outside, she pulls out her phone, and she calls him. At that exact moment, his phone starts ringing. Tianqing freezes. She tilts her head slightly, listening. Then she says quietly, she knows he's nearby. She asks him what he's doing there. Jen-yao is about to answer, but suddenly he sees someone step out of a car nearby. A man, calling her name. Xiao Teng's father. Jen-yao watches as the man walks over to her. The same man who drives her to work every day. The same man who comes to pick her up. Something about this is terribly wrong. Xiao Teng's father recognizes Jen-yao immediately. Their eyes meet. But the man says nothing. He simply takes Tianqing by the arm and leads her away. Jen-yao stands there, frozen, because he knows those faces. He knows that family, and what their words shatter his entire reality. Years ago, after Ouyang Ti uploaded the video, the internet turned into a prison for Xiao Teng. Every comment, every insult, every cruel word, it followed her everywhere. She sat in front of that screen, reading them all, over and over again, until something inside her finally broke. One night, she stood in front of a mirror. She smashed it. Glass scattered everywhere. Then she picked up a shard and pressed it against her own face, trying to destroy the image that the video had turned into a public spectacle. She injured her eyes that night. The physical damage eventually healed, but something inside her mind had already made a decision no doctor could ever reverse. She woke up in the hospital, unable to see. Doctors ran every test they could, and every single one came back normal. There was nothing wrong with her eyes, nothing the machines could detect, because the blindness wasn't physical. It lived somewhere deeper, somewhere no instrument could reach. Her parents made a decision. They arranged reconstructive surgery. They erased the girl the world had destroyed, and they gave her a new name, Tianqing. From that moment on, they stayed by her side. Her father became the man who drove her everywhere. Her mother became the woman who cooked for her every day, watching over a daughter who looked at them and saw two complete strangers, because the trauma had taken something else from her, her memory. But they stayed anyway. They kept staying, day after day, year after year. And the truth is, she was Xiao Teng the entire time. She never disappeared. She was right there, living another life, under another name. And that butterfly tattoo, it was always hers. The trauma did not just break her, it split her. Tianqing is one piece, the identity that woke up after the surgery with no memory of being Xiao Teng, the woman who wanted to work in radio, the woman who learned to move through the world with a cane, the woman who never understood why certain songs suddenly made her want to cry. She is real. She is not pretending, but she was never alone in there. There is someone else. Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi is the other part. Another persona her mind created. The version of Xiao Teng that fractured off the night of the assault and never grew up. She always carries a lollipop. She dresses like a teenager. And unlike Tianqing, she remembers everything. Everything the other identities were protected from knowing. She was there that night, in the hospital room, when Xiao Teng lay surrounded by broken glass, covered in blood, begging someone, anyone, to make the pain stop. Chi-Chi didn't end the pain. Instead, she buried it. She built a new life on top of the wreckage, a new identity, a new story. and she made sure the girl underneath would never have to face the truth again until now. Chelly had been falling apart for months. He was one of the 6. Now he was engaged. A child was on the way. And the guilt had started to feel physical, like something pressing against his ribs every time he tried to sleep. Every time he passed a girl on the street who even slightly looked like Xiao Tong, he saw her face again. So he finally called the others. He told them they needed to find her. Find Xiao Tong and apologize. In his mind, this was the right thing to do. What he never stopped to think about was what finding her would cost her, what it would do to the life she had rebuilt around forgetting. The others wanted no part of it. They had spent years burying this, and Chelly, threatening to dig it back up again, made everyone nervous. But Chelly kept going. He tracked Xiao Tong's parents to Tianqing's building, and one day, he showed up at her door anyway. But the person who opened that door wasn't Tianqing. It was Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi let him inside. Then she grabbed a glass vase and smashed it across his head. 16 years of anger came pouring out of her. She screamed at him. If it weren't for him, none of this would have happened. He had no right to stand in front of her now. Then Li Jen-yao arrived. He pulled her back, carefully took the broken glass from her hand, and let Chelly stumble out into the street. Then Chi-Chi turned toward Li Jen-yao, and the anger didn't stop. She told him everything would have been fine if he had never walked into Xiao Tong's life. When it mattered most, he couldn't protect her. And because of that, he didn't deserve to be alive. Then she wrapped her hands around his throat and squeezed. Li Jen-yao didn't fight back. He didn't move. He didn't try to push her away. He simply stood there, completely still, waiting, present, until slowly, her grip loosened, and Tianqing came back, shaking, confused, with no memory of what her hands had just done. Xiao Tong herself never said those words to him. She never accused him. She even kept every Christmas he had given her. But Chi-Chi said it, which means those words existed somewhere deep inside her, in the part of Xiao Tong that never found a way to say them out loud. Li Jen-yao heard every word, and he didn't argue with a single one. In the middle of the chaos, she suddenly cut her own arm. The wound opened quickly. Blood started pouring out. Chelly had come to that door looking for peace. He was about to become a father. He wanted to start that chapter of his life without the weight of what he had done. He wanted to apologize, to make things right, to wipe the slate clean. But was his apology really for her or for himself? Because what Chelly needed was her forgiveness. He needed it to release himself from the guilt she had been carrying alone for years. Not once did he stop to ask a simple question. Did she even want to be found? As Tianqing is rushed to the hospital, slipping in and out of different personalities, while Xiao Tong's life had been destroyed, something inside Li Jen-yao goes completely still. Because at that moment, he makes a decision. He's going to kill every last one of them. In truth, he had already crossed a line before this. He had already run into one of them. Fan Wei-ting, another member of Ouyang Ti's group. Wei-ting had tracked Li Jen-yao down on the street, and when he saw him, he laughed. He joked about Xiao Tong's name as if the entire thing was still funny. Li Jen-yao didn't plan what happened next. He just moved, and he beat Wei-ting to death right there on the street. It wasn't just anger, it was everything. Chi-Chi's hands around his throat. 7 years in prison. 2 missed Christmases. All of it, crashing into one moment. But before Wei-ting died, he revealed something. Something important. The group had never really separated. They had stayed together. They had built a criminal operation, using the money and protection Ouyang Ti's family had bought them. They were all still connected. And now, Li Jen-yao finally has something he didn't have before. A map and a reason to stop waiting. Then Yun Chen arrives, now known as Shen Mu. And she doesn't arrive with a warning. She has been watching everything. From a distance. For years. She went straight to Xiao Tong's mother. She asked questions, but the door was closed on her. She was turned away. So Yun Chen started digging on her own. She tracked down Wang Li, the girl who had been there the night Xiao Tong was assaulted, the girl who had seen everything, but Wang Li hadn't helped her. Neither had Chang and Ya. Instead, they had abandoned her. They stood there and recorded everything, even while Xiao Tong begged for someone to help her. By the time Yun Chen finally appears at Jen-yao's door, she already knows exactly who he is and exactly what he has been doing, and none of it makes her flinch. She lays out the rules. Tianqing's stability depends on one thing. The past must stay buried. Every person connected to what happened that night needs to disappear. And none of it can ever lead back to Xiao Teng's name, which means Jen-yao can't see Tianqing anymore. Not until it's over. Yun Chen will take care of her, and Jen-yao, he will handle the rest. Then she places something on the table. Maps, addresses, CCTV camera locations near every single target. She has already done the research. From now on, she tells him, "Whatever you need, I will find a way to get it. But you stay away from her." Until this is finished, Jen-yao agrees, just like that, and the killings become a partnership. The first one is Li. It happens in a parking garage. Li is standing beside his car. He's on the phone with his pregnant wife, talking about dinner, talking about normal life, and then everything changes. One moment he's speaking, the next, he's unconscious. In the back of a car, being driven somewhere he will never leave. The room Jen-yao prepared is already waiting. Plastic sheets cover the walls and floor. Cleaning chemicals from Big K's operation sit neatly on the counter. Everything is ready. When Li wakes up, Jen-yao forces a funnel into his mouth. Li begins begging. He says he's sorry. He says he has a child on the way. He says he'll do anything at all. Jen-yao looks at him and asks very quietly, "When Xiao Tung begged you to stop, did you give her anything?" He pours the poison down. When it is over, he removes every tooth. He leaves nothing that could identify the body. He has learned from earlier mistakes, and he will not make them again. Tai Chuang became a physical education teacher. He gives lectures on personal safety to female students. He's worked really hard for his career. He warns them about the dangers of trusting the wrong people. He has never once mentioned the girl whose trust he helped destroy. Behind closed doors, he is still exactly who he always was. He targets a student whose parents are in prison, who lives with her grandmother, who has no power, and no one to fight for her. When she tries to report him, he corners her and tells her to learn to accept her fate. He even pushes her down. A disgusting predator. Yun Chen finds the girl and tells her to record the interaction the next time it happens. They get the footage they need. Within hours of posting it online, his address is public, his windows are taking firecrackers, and his door is plastered with messages. He's fired immediately. He figures out someone helped the girl. He gets the student's phone and uses it to lure Yun Chen to meet him. When she arrives and realizes it is a trap, he comes at her. Jen-yao puts a blade in him on the spot. No kill room, no speech. Just the moment he made the mistake of going for Yun Chen. She stands in that room and watches it happen. Does not look away, does not move. By the time it is done, something has settled inside her. She is not going to pretend she was not here. She is not going to walk away from this. That night, Jen-yao tells her, "Do not call the police. I will turn myself in when it is over." She nods. That is all. By the time the news picks it up, the city is already unsettled. Bodies turning up with no useful evidence. No pattern the police can name publicly. No witnesses. The kind of murders that make investigators feel like they are working in the dark, with someone who knows exactly where every camera is pointed. They are not wrong about that. Meng Hung's restaurant is nearly empty every night now. Yun Chen visited weeks earlier. She saw what his life had become. The financial collapse, the shrinking world. He is the least successful of all of them. And he knows, on some level, that the debt he owes is the kind that does not stay buried forever. Jen-yao sits down, orders a bowl of beef noodles, pulls on black gloves while the music plays. When he stands up and walks toward the kitchen, there is no urgency in his step. He looks like a man with nowhere else to be. He stabs him, and then does something bizarre. He returns to his table, finishes the meal. By the time he leaves, Meng Hung is dead. Chang Enya is in the boot of his car. Yun Chen baited her with a fake brand collaboration. She sent her address without hesitation. She didn't even look up when the delivery driver came to the door. He took her to the woods. She kills her without hesitation while it rains. He's lost all emotion, all regret. At this point, Everyone involved must die. Wenling's story does not start with guilt. It starts with a bad night at the gambling table. She went with her boyfriend, lost money she did not have, and before she could find a way out, the debt had already changed hands. Ouyang Ti's crew acquired it with a smile and told her exactly what she had to do to clear it. They filmed her, without warning, without consent. The same playbook, the same people, just a different girl. When the footage went public, the comments were word for word what they had written about Xiao Teng. She read every one of them, and somewhere in the middle of reading, she understood, really understood. For the first time, what she had helped happen to someone else, what she had watched from across the room and said nothing about, what she had lied to administrators about, with a straight face. The ghost that starts appearing to her is not supernatural. It is her own guilt, taking a shape she cannot outrun. She kills herself, convinced she is being murdered by the girl she helped destroy. Yun Chen visited her before the end, sat across from her, and told her plainly, "I came here to kill you." Then she looked at her for a long moment and decided that living with this is a punishment no blade could match. She was right. Ouyang Ti is the last name on the list. He's been having night terrors for years, even wetting the bed. In his dreams, Jen-yao kills him. He knows he's coming for him. He couldn't be more correct. Jen-yao sees the moves he's making. He is getting close to something Jen-yao cannot afford to let him reach. Jen-yao goes for him and has to pull back before it is finished. When Li Yen's headlights sweep across the driveway, she walks inside. She sees her son, and she finishes it herself. The woman who bribed police officers, who sat across from Xiao Teng's mother with a smile and put 5 million on the table, who scrubbed her son's record clean every time it needed cleaning. She stands over him and uses her own hands. She was tired of his bullshit. He had cost her marriage, her position, and her status. Her own dear son was a pain in her neck. Jen-yao watches from the shadows and smiles. What a wonderful twist. Yu Xiang, Ouyang Ti's right-hand man, frequently beats his wife, and the wife, in turn, beats the son. In fact, they beat him so badly that the boy wears an eye patch. When Jen-yao arrives and hears it happening through the walls, something in him stops responding to logic. He kills Yu Xiang's wife, then Yu Xiang. Then he sees the boy hiding and watching from a corner, and something in Jen-yao cracks open. He hears every voice that ever told him he was worthless. He sees his father's hands. He sees himself at 17, working until midnight, handing over every cent to men who took it and left bruises behind. He sees a boy with no exits and no one coming. He was not trying to punish the child. He genuinely believed in that shattered moment that ending it was a mercy, that what lay ahead for a boy raised in that house was worse than what he was about to do. He was wrong. He knew it the second he walked out. You have watched Jen-yao move through people who had it coming. People who used power to bury what they did to a 17-year-old girl and spent years living comfortably on the other side of it. Most of what he did felt, if not right, then at least earned. The system failed her completely. He was the only one who showed up, but a child had nothing to do with any of it. So where is the line? And more importantly, who gets to draw it? The law that looked the other way every time it had the chance? The institutions that filed a note and moved on? Or does the line exist at all, when the violence stops landing on people we already decided deserved it? The show does not answer this cleanly. That is exactly the point. One thing left. He goes to his mother's flat. His father is there, still the same man, beating his mother. He realizes this will never end. His mother will never open her eyes. His father will never stop beating her. He uses an electric wire and strangles him to death. It does not take long. Then he kneels in front of his mother, who is shaking and crying and cannot look at what just happened in her own house. He says, "Take care of yourself from now on." He picks up the phone, gives his name, says he has killed people, stays on the line until they tell him where to go. He gives them everything in the confession, every name, every method, every location. They ask why he killed the child. He looks at the wall for a moment, then he says, "Maybe I'm just a bastard." He had no better answer, because the true one was too broken to say out loud in a police station, Li Jen-yao's mother comes to see him in prison. She has things she wants to say. She starts with venom, calls him exactly what she thinks he is. Jen-yao lets her finish. Then he begins to hum the melody she was humming to her son while she strangled him. The color drains from her face. He has known since the night it happened. He never told the police, never told anyone. Now she understands why. A courtroom would have been too fast, too clean, too final, making her spend every day wondering when he might say something. That is the punishment she will carry until her body gives out. It gives out sooner than expected. Li Jen dies in a hospital bed not long after. A complete mental collapse, something the doctors cannot fully explain. Jen-yao is still in his cell when it happens. Now we need to talk about Pin-yu. You spent all of part 1 watching her. The documentary researcher. The woman who moved into Chen-enya's apartment and started losing pieces of herself. Dreams that were not hers. Search histories she never typed. A face in the mirror that did not feel like her own. We thought she was a stranger. Someone pulled into something much bigger than herself. But she was never a stranger. After Jen-yao's arrest, Tianqing's world began to fall apart again. The stability she had spent years building started to crack. She had another episode, a second collapse. And this time, Chi-Chi stepped in and did something she had done before. She built another identity, a new one, to protect the person underneath. She convinced the fractured mind that it was someone called Pin-yu, a filmmaker, someone with a professional reason to visit Jen-yao in prison, someone who could sit across from him, get close to him, without triggering anything in either of them. Pin-yu's face was not Xiao Tung's face, it was Joy's face, a colleague from the radio station who had been close to Tianqing at work. The mind borrowed that face and constructed an entire life around it. The research files, the late nights, the feeling of being pulled toward a man on death row she had supposedly never met, but she had met him, in a different body, under a different name. That is why Jen-yao agreed to talk to the documentary crew. The moment Pin-yu walked into that visiting room, he saw Xiao Tung standing in front of him, and after everything, after all of it, he could not turn away from that. When Tianqing finally understands who she is, she does not collapse. She goes to him. She tells him to fight the sentence, that they can finally have what they were always supposed to have, that she kept every Christmas, 16 years of keeping a promise to someone who could not be there. She is asking him to hold on. For one more, he listens to all of it. Then he tells her, "I have seen your eyes again. That is enough for me. Do not come on Christmas. That day is supposed to be for joy. I do not want to be the reason you are sad anymore." She tells him he made a promise. He said he would never let go of her hand. She is coming regardless. His final request is to hear a song. The song she danced to. The one she played on her radio station. As they walk him to the chamber, every memory surfaces in order. The rooftop, the motorbike with his arms stretched wide, trying to leave every problem behind. The photo booth in Taipei, the sea, the promise they made standing at the water's edge, the Christmas decorations she left on the rooftop every year, for a man who was not there to see them. She hears the news of his execution on the television. She runs out of the house, she runs into the street, but she is too late. It is already done. She breaks down, crying in the street. She had promised him once that she would dance for him, just for him. No stage, no audience, just the two of them. And the music she had built her whole life around before everything fell apart. She returns to ballet and performs The Dying Swan. In the room, she can only see him, not the crowd. The same shadow that once stood in a rooftop doorway, watching a girl dance alone, not sure if he should stay, staying anyway. She dances to the final note. She keeps the promise. His mother carries his ashes home. She holds the urn for a long time before she speaks. Then she says, "You worked so hard. In your next life, choose a good mother. Do not choose one like me again." She reads his last letter at the water's edge. This is the promise they made in Taipei, the night they piled into a photo booth, ate together at the night market, stood beside the ocean, and she said, "Let us come back here together." One more time. They finally made it. just not the way any of them planned. In 2007, a girl danced alone on a rooftop, and a boy with bruises on his face stood in the doorway. For the first time in a long time, he felt like a person who might actually survive his own life. The world spent the next 16 years proving him wrong. Everything he did after was the only answer he knew how to give. Was it justice? Was it love? He told her once, "Moths and butterflies cannot exist in the same world." He always knew which one he was. He was right about that. She came back to the rooftop every year. She danced for him in the end. A story about guilt, memory, and the fragile line between justice and revenge. And that was Had I Not Seen the Sun. Subscribe for more drama recaps, and tell me which story I should break down next.